Hey, what's going on, guys? I know it's been a minute, and actually this was recorded probably before, or sometime before you're actually seeing this, or when it was actually when it's actually been released, I should say. Ran out of hard drive space, so I can't edit without hard drive space, so that's delaying my videos. Anywho, I need to get back to painting on this Hoth Electro-binoculars. I've just got to do like the little gray spots, and there's a couple red spots, and then after that I got to assemble it and weather it. So there really isn't much. We'll see how far I can get in this video. I'll definitely get the painting done. I'll probably get the assembly done. I don't know if I'll get the weathering done because there's a lot of different kinds of weathering, so maybe one more video after this one. Anyways, I've made a few observations looking at reference photos, and let me show you some of those things. Okay, so the first thing that I want to point out is there is a Phillips head screw right there, right in the middle of that. Never noticed it before, so I've got to drill a hole for that in those pieces. It doesn't necessarily need to go into the housing, but I need to put it there. I got to find one that's the correct, size, a Phillips screw for the head anyway. So that's one thing I've discovered, and let me see if I can zoom this in here. Yeah, right there. That's a Phillips head screw. There you can see it a little bit better. The screw's right there. You can see the cross mark for the Phillips screw. Alright, so the next thing I discovered is I was looking at these panels here that had to be gray, and this one has not been painted on this side of the hood. So like this area down here, not painted, but this side is painted. So that's a little detail that I found out just kind of looking at reference photos. So we'll be replicating that for sure. And so before, when I mentioned that switch, the little red switch right there, was two pieces of the cam from the visible V8. You can see here the red one on the front, but then behind it you can see the other shape right there. So that's the second angle of the cam. So I just thought I'd point that out. Actually, I got another photo of it. You can kind of see it here. Let me zoom that in. So you can kind of see the top of it there, and then the second one behind it. Alright, so the full list of things that got to get painted are this rectangle, part of this rectangle in here, one of these, which two of them go here, one gray, one red. There's this guy over here, which is going to go over that screw hole. There's a rectangle, two rectangles, like a big one and a little one that go up right up here. And that's pretty much it for the gray. And then the red is one of these, and then there's a bump thing, one of these little knobs that goes, gets painted red, and it goes right on the front, like so. And for that, I'm going to use Reefer Gray. That's the color I think is the closest. I've looked at a bunch of different grays, and I'm going to use Caboose Red. So those are the two colors I'm going to use. I have a couple reds. This is the one I felt like that matched the best. There's another one I have that's a little bit warmer, and then I've got like a Tamiya red that's just like a straight red, where I felt like that was a pretty dead-on match. that time taping for literally a few seconds of painting. It's just what it is. Cool. Well, I'm going to pull this tape off. Paint's still drying, but I don't like to let it sit on there because the paint or the tape where it meets in places can cause a capillary effect and suck the paint under, and then you get those weird little lines that you got to paint over, and it's just easier to just get rid of the tape. All right, let's start masking out for the red. for fun, and since there was so little paint in the airbrush, I went ahead and just sprayed it all out on this piece of scrap I keep nearby, just for testing, you know, making sure the paint consistency is right and everything like that. But it was literally a few drops of red and a few drops of thinner, and I was able to paint all the parts, which isn't much, and half of this, which is not small, it's probably 4 inches wide. I mean, I got all around in that, lots of detail. So I don't know if any of you guys are looking into getting an airbrush. I mean, the amount of paint you have to actually use is minuscule. So a jar of like Archive X, like this, with a decent jar of like thinner, like I like to use Mr. Color Leveling Thinner, it'll last you a very long time, and you get so much control, and you're not getting a ton of overspray. You know, like every time I spray paint, I just like get a bunch on my hands. That's why I wear a glove, and half the time I find it all the way up my arm. I don't get that on airbrushing. You know, like I'll put it on a stick, I can control it. It's great, and also the fumes aren't horrendous. I mean, sometimes if you're spraying a lot, it'll build up, but you know, get a fan, no big deal. Everybody's got fans, right? Anyways, let me know if you guys think a video about how I airbrush. I know there's a lot of videos out there, but there's a lot of stuff that I was trying to find out, and I just couldn't find it, or at least it wasn't very accessible. So I could put together some tips and tricks and things I've learned. I'm not a pro by any means. I'm definitely self-taught, you know. So, but it, you know, maybe some of the things that I've learned through experience would help other people. I don't know. Let me know anywhere you see me: Facebook, the RPF, YouTube. Well, the masking worked, but this plastic, the paint doesn't like sticking to, nothing like sticking to it. It was that one I was having difficulty with, you know, getting sticky tack and tape to stick to before. So the paint's having a hard time too. And but that's not too big a deal. I mean, there's a little bit right there as well, but most of that is going to be behind, so we're not going to see it. So I'm not too concerned about that. But I will probably touch that up. I don't like that. So I'll need to paint this about black for when I put the lens in, but that's upside down. And this part, my tape didn't push down, it popped up, so you got a little bleed over there. I'll just touch that up with a very fine brush with the Reefer White, and that way it's a clean line. Shouldn't be too hard to do. And finally, the switch, let me pull this off. Looks good so far. Oh yeah, that looks great. Alright, so I'm going to be painting one more thing besides the little touch-ups, which I'm not going to film that. That's just me with a little fine brush, you know, dabbing a little bit of paint here and there. It's not worth recording. But I'm going to paint this middle area black, and that's because there's going to be a lens in this piece that goes there, and so I want to create some real depth, and I believe the prop it is actually black there. I'm not sure if the lens actually has the color or if it's the background, but I think having the background would look a little bit better. But yeah, but this is just two pieces. A lens sits in here, and then this just pops on over there, and I glue it together, and yeah, that's it. So I'm gonna paint that a little bit black. I might wind up painting the inside area here black as well. I'm kind of leaning against it, but you never know. Oh, and I almost forgot to mention, I'm going to use the Stewart Semple Black 2.0. I do also have the 3.0. This is very black, but since this is going to be like kind of inside, it's going to have a lens over it, there's no point in using the 3.0. So I'm going to use this. It's water-based acrylic. It's super black. It's like one of the blackest paints you can buy, and I need to use it for something. So. Alright, so the main painting is done now. It's just got to dry, and then I'm actually going to start assembling it. I'm going to put most of the parts. I can't put any of the parts that hold lenses in. I can assemble them. No, I can't assemble them. I have to weather them before I assemble them because I don't want to get stuff on the lenses, and I can't put the lenses in until after I pull the tape off. So unless I want to sit there and mask the lenses and then pull that off, it just looks sloppy. So that's going to dry overnight. I got another hole to drill. I discovered that the piece on the front here should have a little Phillips screw in it, like so. So I need to drill a hole in this guy so I can put a Phillips screw in, and I might drill one into the body. I'm not sure. I might just, maybe I'll just cut this screw off, you know, and just glue that on, glue it all in place. But I'm gonna have to bring out a little bit more white and do touch-ups. And I gotta do a few other little touch-ups. I found little weird spots. And I'm not gonna film that because it's kind of a pain in the butt to film something when I'm, you know, trying to do this precision work and have a camera in front of me. I'm just not gonna film it. Just know that I'm taking a tiny brush with some paint and just putting little dots of paint on things. So, but yeah, next up, I'm gonna do assembly. Gotta let this paint dry, and then we're gonna assemble it, and then we start the weathering, which is gonna be fun. I'll probably make that a separate video because there's so many different techniques and stuff like that we could use. Alright, so I discovered that I did not need to paint that black. Not a big deal because it's not going to be seen, it's going to be completely covered up. But the lens is black. It's completely opaque, we're not going to see through it. I thought it was clear and it just had a black protective layer on it, but it turns out that it is actually just black. So, oh well, not a big deal. You don't have to paint yours black if you have one of these kids or are going to get one. Not a big deal. If you look at the reference photos, you do see that the lens is basically just black plastic and you can't see through it. So this is more accurate. Alright, I have glued on and attached every piece I can attach at this time. I'm going to let the glue dry up for a bit. And the reason why I couldn't attach more is because, you know, the pieces that have the clear acrylic lenses, those can't, I don't want those on there yet because they don't need to be weathered. I mean, at least the lenses don't need to be weathered, the parts that hold them do. So I can, while they're disassembled, I can weather them, make them look right, and then assemble them and attach them later, more towards the end. And then the hood I couldn't put on. I mean, I could, but two other parts are positioned relative to that, and so I'm going to hold off on attaching those just for a little bit, just because it's hard to wedge them in there, and you kind of have to do it all at once. So I'm going to let these dry up and the glue cure before I try and wrestle these parts together. You know, I don't want to accidentally knock something out of position because it's still drying. Alright, I've decided I'm going to cut it off here. I just think the video is probably going to get a little long if I keep going. It's a good breaking point. But this is really coming along. It's really starting to look like a prop now. Looks a little paint by numbers or a little Mondrian because it's so clean. It's just a bunch of rectangles that are nice and sharp and clean, but we got a lot of weathering coming up, which is really what's going to sell this on looking Star Wars. You know, right now it looks brand new, like out of the box. It's just clean and bright, and that's not Star Wars, is it? Anyways, check out the blog, propchopshop.com, and stay safe out there. See you next time.